Good evening. It is now 6:45, and welcome to the annual meeting of our Sycamore Township CIC members. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our administrator in Sycamore Township, Ray Warwick. And what do we have on the agenda tonight?
Yeah, I just wanted to walk through quickly per the code of regulations for the Sycamore Township CIC. The members are stipulated. So we have members, we have board of directors, and then the board of directors this evening will select the officers. The members are stipulated. The members are the 3 trustees, the fiscal officer, and the administrator. Since the current elected officials are still in office, it's still the same ones, there is no need to elect you. For the non-elected person on the board, which would be the administrator, it says that I could be elected again if there was an election of the directors. But since there's no election of the directors, I'm assuming that I stay in too. And then typically the members select the board of directors, and the board of directors consists of 5 people. Well, 4 of them are still in automatically, and since there's no election of directors, I assume the administrator stays in also. So let me see if I can get the so I don't think there's any other action that has to be taken, Mr. President, in the annual meeting. I would move that we adjourn the annual meeting.
Okay, then we have a second to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, so the time now is 6:47.
Got a call for a vote on that.
Okay. Mr. James? Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera? Aye. Mr. Warwick?
Aye.
Is that correct? Did we do the
Yeah,
correct-
Mr. Porter.
And Mr. Porter?
Aye.
Okay. So that's adjourned, and now we move to the Sycamore Township CIC Board of Directors meeting for this Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021. The agenda, the election of officers. Mr. Warwick, do we want to remain the same, gentlemen, or do we want to do the election over? Mr. James, your thoughts? Mr. Weedman, your thoughts? Tom James, your microphone's off.
Sorry, I don't see any reason to change unless somebody wants a different job. I'm happy with the makeup as it is. Mr. Weedman, any thoughts?
I'm fine.
Okay, so the election of an executive director, do we all agree on Ray Warwick on this?
Well, hold on. Do we have to take formal action nonetheless to reelect? I assume there were terms in place. So why don't I move that we continue with the current officers in their current positions for another year?
Second.
Okay, and Mr. Warwick? Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Barbara, aye. Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Porter?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman, aye. Okay, approval of electronic signatures. Do we all agree to do that? Mr.
I do.
James?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
I do.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
And Mr. Warwick?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda, the approval of the December 3rd, 2020 CIC meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, a vote on it. Mr. Porter, do you want to call the vote?
Mr. LaBarbera,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman. Aye. Mr. Warwick.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next, the Economic Development Grant Program. Mr. Warwick, do you have that?
Yeah, I put it on the screen. Can you see it?
Yes,
It's pretty small, but yes.
it is small.
This is a recap of last year. The revenue into the CIC was $100,000, which comes from the Township General Fund. And most of the expenses associated with giving the grants of the tax dollars back to citizens who were taxing those jeds but live in the township. And that amount came to $90,066.04. So that's how we ended the year. I glanced at where we're at through 2 months of this year. If you recall, we had the board approve moving $100,000 into the CIC to start 2021. And so far we have expenses of $24,887.31. That's all the report on that.
Any discussion? Okay, if no discussion, we approve this. Do we have to approve it?
I don't think so, but
No. So the date of the next meeting will be June the 1st at 6:45. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
second.
Second.
Okay. The ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The meeting ended at 6:51.
All right. We use the same Zoom link for the full trustee meeting, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. I'll see you all in a few minutes. Chris, are you lieutenant, sergeant? What is your sergeant?
I'm muted. Sorry about that. I'm a sergeant. Yes,
Okay. Thanks. Just wanted to make sure I got it right later. Okay.
not a problem.
Thanks. All right. I'll see you in a few minutes.
All right.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep. Jim,
Okay.
you're talking though when you're muted.
Loud and clear, chief.
Okay, thank you.
Loud and clear, Chief.
Thank
Nice
you.
celebration for Coop yesterday.
You like that?
Yeah, that was cool. Very nice.
call the meeting to order. Got my gavel here again. There we go. All right, we are here. It is 7 p.m. on Tuesday, March the 2nd. We're here for our first of this month's evening trustee meetings. And I believe we have an invocation, first of all, that Mr. Miller will be delivering. So if you're able to stand where you are, please do so, or bow your heads otherwise. Thank you.
This comes from Good Shepherd Lutheran Church, from Pastor Jess Abbott. We thank you, dear God, for bringing us together in safety today. We ask for your presence and wisdom as we discuss the challenges we face together as a board of trustees. Guide our thoughts and words so that we may offer the best leadership possible to our community. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. And if everyone would remain standing who is, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance as well. Mr. Ebel, if you could put a flag up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of
The
the
United
United
States.
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
justice for all.
All right. Thanks, everyone. If we can have a roll call. Mr. Porter, would you call the roll to ensure we're all here?
Mr. LaBarbera,
Here, aye.
Mr. James,
Here.
Mr. Weedman.
Present.
All right. Very good. First of all, the state of Ohio, someone's got audio running there and we're getting feedback.
It's Tracy. I'll mute him.
Okay. All right, let's try again. Here we go. As you gentlemen are aware, the state of Ohio has authorized local government bodies to meet through remote means during this pandemic, which we're doing tonight through video conference. Votes of the Board of Trustees have the same effect as if approval had occurred during an open meeting or hearing of the public body. State law also permits resolutions and other township documents to be signed with an electronic signature. Would each of you please give your consent to placing your electronic signature on items approved in this meeting which require your signature?
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do. All right. Moving on the agenda here. Next, we have approval of the minutes from our February 16th, 2021 trustee meeting.
Motion to approve.
I'll make a second.
All right, and we have those minutes up on the screen. Any discussion as to those minutes, gentlemen? All right, hearing no discussion, Mr. Porter, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. LaBarbera,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
All right, thank you. And those minutes, of course, are available on our website for anyone in the public who'd like to see them. Do we have anyone who has signed up to give public comments tonight?
In the very near future.
Kathy was the only one that registered, and I have not seen her log in, Tom.
All right, so Kathy Kugler had signed up. She's not here. We had a problem with that in our last meeting, and she was able to join us later. If she does that, please let us know, and we'll see if we can fit her in later in the meeting.
Will do.
All right, we will move on right now then to the Sheriff Patrol report, and tonight we have Sergeant Brian Sovereign here. If we could get him on the screen here and take down the agenda for a moment. Thank you. Sergeant, what have you got for us?
February, we had a couple of incidents that occurred at the shopping areas in Kenwood. We had a couple of aggravated auto robberies that occurred, which we were able to bring to a partial resolution very quickly with the help of City of Cincinnati. 2 subjects were taken into custody and they have strong leads on a third. The first auto robbery that occurred, they have no leads on. Other than that, the only thing that we really have going on, we've had some noise complaints reference to garbage delivery in the northern part of the township. That was addressed by one of our deputies to the Rumpke driver. It is our hope that a verbal warning to that effect about the township noise resolutions would be sufficient. If not, then we will have to take further action.
Very good. Well, welcome to our meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks for the update. Does anyone have any questions for the sergeant?
Sergeant, I think the Rumpke situation has been ongoing for a while. I know that in a couple of the neighborhoods, we had some deputies staked out waiting for them in the morning and turned them around, got them out. But you know, I sympathize with these guys, especially in the summer, because I know that trash doesn't smell very good in the middle of the hot day. But the reality is, we do have a noise resolution in place, and they just got to follow it. And I've talked to multiple people at Rumpke, and I'm hoping that they're starting to get the message now, because the other neighborhoods that complained, they are coming later. So, and I don't know, maybe they're coming now to this new neighborhood earlier. I have no idea. But
That was the impression that I got. That my impression was, I talked to the officer that came in that dealt with the driver. Apparently she was a newer driver. Maybe she's reroute. She said that she would reroute or retime her route. I'm hoping I know it's an ongoing situation, because I've been, over the years, I've had to deal with it, but it seems like as we get new drivers, it becomes a situation again, then we speak to them and it kind of goes away a little bit.
yeah. Thanks for your help on that, though.
Sure, you're quite welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Since we're on that topic, Tracy, I think you were in touch with Rumpke recently about some of this too. Anything to add?
No, nothing to add. I talked to our government liaison, who is well aware of our noise ordinance, and he said he would make sure that dispatch and the powers to be would know it, and that they have to realize that they can't be out here that early.
Right. All right. Well, thank you all for taking care of that. Any other comments for the sergeant here? All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight, sir. You are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you like. You can leave your video on or off if you like to, but we'll be watching you if you're still on. So
Very well. Thank you.
all right. We'll move on then to our EMS and fire report with Chief Rob Penny. Chief, what do you have for us tonight? And I should add also, happy 50th to Jerry Cooper, a day late. I understand there was a big celebration for that.
Yeah, his wife set that up. She did a pretty good job. You should see his, I don't know if he showed pictures, but you should have seen his office.
He did. He posted that online. We saw what was out front. I actually had one person ask me if you had retired, because it said, congratulations, Chief Cooper out front, or something like that.
Yeah. No, I'm not going anywhere.
And Chief, he's got a mustache, new mustache,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Oh, well. Speaking of Jerry, though, he's recovering fairly well, and he has started coming back in and putting in a few office hours. He wants to come in more, and I'm not encouraging him to come in and put full days in, because sitting in those chairs with back surgery can be quite obnoxious. So but he comes in for 3 or 4 hours, get some things done, then I run him out of there. So until he can get a little bit better healed, I just assumed he didn't re-injure it again. So, but he has been coming in for a little bit. So he's been helping out with some stuff. The on the COVID side of things are pretty much status quo. We've had 42 additional residents added to the list of quarantined at home, which is actually quite good compared to, we were up over 100 there for a while. So things are starting to drop off somewhat. The other thing is, I don't know if I guess everybody knows the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is coming in, and got an email from John Sherrod from the health department that they're going to be offering a vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, on March 8th to firefighters and police officers and so forth, for some makeup where they didn't get it before, and I think the police hasn't gotten it at all. So originally I had reached out to John to find out if we would be able to receive any of the vaccines at our facility, so we can give them ourselves. And he hasn't gotten back to me yet. I literally just asked him about an hour ago, so I'm sure he'll respond back to me. But if that's available, that we can receive the vaccine to our department and we can bring our sheriffs in and give it to them that way, I would prefer to do that. If not, then I will forward the email to Lieutenant Tarr, and let him know how his guys can go get the vaccine based on the health department's email. So I'm on top of it. We'll get them vaccine one way or another.
Very good.
So other than that, that's about all I got for right now. I'll have the monthly report out in the next couple days, and I'll get it emailed to y'all.
All right. Any questions for the chief from anyone? All right. Well, thank you very much. And we'll move on next to our roads, maintenance, and recreation report then. We've got Tracy here, and I think Jason Petty we have in the meeting also. So Tracy, what have we got going on?
Well, is Jason with us?
He is.
Okay.
He's muted right now. There you go.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. I'll let Jason go first. He has some things to talk about from the Parks Committee, and also about some rules and regulations of surrounding entities that we asked him to get.
Jason, let me know when you want to do a screen share.
Yeah, I think it'll be, the only thing that I think I need screen shared are the different municipalities, parks and regulations rules. I think there are 3 documents. I believe that's all that there are. It should be Montgomery Park and Rules Regulations, Sims Township. Yeah, there you go. So this was a few weeks ago. I don't remember which month it was in, but you guys had asked if I could find out some what other municipalities neighboring us did as far as their rules regarding alcohol. And I've highlighted all of the ones that pretty much talk to how their rules are pretty similar to what ours are currently. So I know you guys had asked for that before. I just wanted to make sure that I got that to you. I didn't know if you were able to go over it before tonight and wanted to make a decision on the rules that we had made so far, or if you guys have more discussion about that.
Well, I know I saw these things, and I will add that Deerfield Township also has a similar rule. They do not allow alcohol in the park without permits either. So that's another one you can add to the list there. Where were we on this, on the proposed rules last time then? Was the alcohol prohibition back in there, or was it out of there because we had discussed each way?
So yeah, the last time we discussed this, we had left it out. And then I think you guys had discussion in the last trustees meeting, and then asked me to find out what neighboring communities did with their rules on alcohol. And that's so in the last set of rules that I proposed, or not proposed, but presented in the last meeting that I was in, the rules on alcohol that we amended have little. The only regulation was that you couldn't sell it without written permission. So we had taken all regulations other than that out of the rule.
I'd be satisfied with the regulation as it's listed in Montgomery, and I think that's a reasonable. It's reasonable to assume that that if they rent a shelter, they're interested. You know, that they may be consuming alcohol in the shelter, and the other thing is, what we don't want to do, I think, is promote the impromptu beer bashes in the park where you get 20 kids that are just turned 21, and next thing you know, they're consuming way too much alcohol. And I know we have rules against consuming alcohol, but that doesn't mean they don't do it. And I think we should reach out to attempt to not facilitate it for sure. So I think I'd be in support of adopting the rules that Montgomery currently has.
And that's what our old rule said. I think similar wording also was only with the rental. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim, comments?
I'll go along with that. Tracy, have we had problems in the past with this kind of thing, with people abusing this?
Not recently, but yes, in the past, we often did, which is why the rule came about.
Okay.
You know, we had some problems with that, and you know, a little too much drinking, and would start into some vandalism.
Okay. I'll add that I think putting it back in is probably rule overkill because of the other rules we have. And if people are going to violate it, our rule isn't going to stop them, of course. It's another ground to toss them out of the park, but that's more of a civil enforcement thing. If there's truly a problem, we're going to encourage people to dial 911 and get the sheriff's office out there because someone's getting unruly anyway. But with that said, all the other communities have this rule in there. I don't have a problem having the rule in there too for that reason. I think people are going to do what they're going to do for the most part anyway, and what our rule says isn't necessarily going to influence them for better or for worse, but we do have other laws and protections in place. So I'll go with the consensus there, and if we want to keep the alcohol prohibition that we actually have in the current rules in there, then I guess we do that.
Yeah, I'll go along with the Toms.
Yeah. So Jason, we don't actually have rules in front of us in a final form to approve tonight, though. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Because I didn't know what discussion you guys would have on this before I changed anything. So I figured I would wait to see what you guys decided before we change anything. So if you want it to be the same as it was, I can put that back in the document and then present it to you guys at the next meeting.
Yeah, I think as to that, that's where we are. And was there anything else that the committee needed to consider further before that comes back to us with that change, since that's our decision in the end to make as to the alcohol rule?
No, I don't think so. The committee had already agreed to the rules that we had before.
Okay.
So if that's your guys' decision on this one, then I
Sounds
don't
like
think
that's the
we need to
consensus. So
discuss it.
I think bring it back to us that way then next time,
Okay.
and we can have it on the agenda and have a final vote on that.
So the next thing I have is the Parks Advisory Committee made a motion at our last meeting to have paper copies of the Parks Survey available at the North and South fire stations. And that was, discussed earlier by myself and Tracy, and I had, told the committee at an earlier date that I didn't think it would be a problem, but I did not realize that we were wanting to do the entire thing electronically. So I don't know if that's something that you guys are in favor to or opposed of having. I can see the benefits and the downside to both, because I think being able to, tabulate all of the information, it's going to come, by constant contact is who the survey is going to be, given by. So they're going to be able to process all the information. If we had paper copies, we would definitely have to do that ourselves in-house. But I know Tracy had some comments. I think that he was probably also going to talk on that for a little bit as well.
Tracy, what have you got for us on that?
Basically, I just, we had talked all along about doing it electronically. I don't have a major problem with paper. I think, in this day and age, plus with COVID, everybody's electronic with everything. I think it's much easier to tabulate all the information. We can put it, we're going to put a QR code in the newsletter, one on some signs that we're going to place around like we do for yoga in the parks and stuff, along with having it on our website and on Facebook. I do not believe we even have public coming into the North Firehouse at all. So I don't know if that, I'd have to ask Chief about that. We're open down south for people to drop off documents for the administration building. But I just think
I gotta think that's a big inconvenience for the fire department.
Yeah,
Chief,
I
am
would
right
agree.
in that? When they knocking on the door, I want to pick up this. I know how busy you guys can get, especially at certain times.
Well, how about this suggestion? I do think that some people prefer paper, especially not to stereotype, but senior citizens sometimes prefer paper to an electronic survey. They may just want paper for whatever reason. I think we should make an accommodation to make paper available if somebody wants it. But, an old-fashioned way of doing it would be put a nice little box or file tray there outside the door with a rock on top of the stack of paper in it under a cover if somebody wants to come pick it up. They don't have to come in and ask for it, but we could make some paper ones available somehow for them to pick up if we want. I would suggest if we're doing some on paper, since this will be an electronic survey and we're going to need results within a reasonable time, we need to put a deadline on there too, that they return it by a certain date. And then maybe someone in the office could tabulate the few that we actually get on paper and just enter that in with the other totals we get. But I would suggest it's important to have some paper there because for some people, they're going to need that accommodation. But we do need a deadline too for responses, or else the thing will float around forever. And 3 years from now, somebody's going to fill one out and send it in.
Yeah, we have a deadline for the electronic ones, so we would keep the same deadline if you want paper ones also.
How about just making them available rather than the fire stations, just at the administration building?
Yeah,
Well,
and
we
then I
could
would
put
agree
it,
with that.
yeah, I think the way to put it, we could put it at the South Firehouse. You know, that's where all our document drop off and document pickup is now. You know, the North, we do not have that luxury. So I think if we did it at the South, you know, I picture it being minimal anyway. I mean, everybody's on some form of electronic media today.
Yeah.
Tracy, if you give me the forms, I will put a bin out in that foyer on a table and put a sign on it that they're available to pick up. Those front doors are always unlocked into that first main entrance coming in, and
Yes.
everything gets dropped off and picked up there anyway. So we have a table in the foyer there. We can very easily make a space and put a bin there that we can put them in, and then people can just come in and grab them. They're not really bothering us. The second set of doors going into the firehouse are locked, so they don't come in the station, but they're more than welcome to come into the foyer where the document drop off, the mail, that stuff's in there. The drug box is out there for people to put their wasted drugs. Everything's in that foyer, so they don't have to go through locked doors. So as far as the South Station, it won't be a problem at all to put some of those forms in there.
Hey, Chief, in the first station, is that first door open or not?
I mean, they're closed, but they're not locked.
They're not locked. Okay. I mean,
just
the
a
thing I
second.
might just suggest is you might also put a bottle of hand sanitizer on each table that you're setting up, just so that.
We can do that. And also, as I mentioned it once before, we do have that foyer area there monitored with cameras 24 hours. So if anything goes on there, we'll be able to track it.
Sounds good, Chief.
And I suppose old school, if someone even wants us to mail them a survey, for goodness sake, we do want results from people. If they ask for that, I'd say
Mail.
I know it's an old fashioned thing. It takes, basically you take a piece of paper, you put it in an envelope, you put it in this box, and then like a week or two later, it shows up across town.
If you're lucky.
Yeah. That's been my experience lately, but
Magic?
I do want to address with the situation there at the fire station, just to be able to help out with handicapped people, that if they call the station or email me and let me know when they're going to come to the station, I will be more than happy to run it out to the car for them.
great. Thank you for doing that. Yeah. And those signs on the windows there and in the doors with the phone numbers, that's great and very helpful to people who do come in who need that help. So very good. All right, Jason, anything else about the survey, or any trustees have any further comments about that? Okay.
I don't think I have anything else about the survey.
Okay, anything else about the Parks Committee then, or Parks?
Yeah. So Tina Early and Kathy Kugler are wanting to explore possibilities of having a treasure hunt at McDaniel Sports Complex and Bechtold Park. I think they were talking about, they were going to ask you guys for, some support from it, but I haven't exactly found out from them just quite yet what all they have found out. But just so that you have a heads up, probably by the next meeting, I would imagine I'll have some more information from them. But they were wanting to, I think, find out if that's even something that you guys would be okay with them.
I know I'd be interested in
pursuing.
promoting any outdoor activities we can do in our parks where people can safely go have fun, especially as the weather's getting nicer here. outdoors air seems to be pretty safe for people. So getting them there is a good thing. So yeah, I think that's a great thing. And I look forward to hearing recommendations about what we can do for that and how we could help out.
Okay.
Anyone else have comments about that?
I agree with promoting outdoor activity.
It sounds good. It sounds like an Easter egg hunt. Candy and
Well,
little
that's definitely
eggs.
not what they're calling it.
I know.
Being government and all,
That's
we
the
can't do
first thing that
that.
hit me.
Oh, yes, we can.
Those little plastic eggs with candy.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask, if they were going to hide the treasure in eggs, because that would be a whole different kind of thing, but I don't know. So the other thing that I have is that our bathrooms are scheduled to open the first week in April. And that, I believe, is when we will also be opening up our shelter rentals. And yoga in the parks will resume on April 11th. So we were going to open up yoga on April 4th until I realized that that was actually Easter Sunday. So we're gonna push it to April 11th, and then that will take place every Sunday at 10 o'clock at Bechtold Park until October. And we are going to also look into adding a few more days and possibly a few more parks, hopefully, if I can find some more volunteer instructors.
Excellent.
So, if you guys have any questions, other than that, I think I'm about wrapped up.
Questions, gentlemen?
Not for me.
None for me.
Okay, I'll ask about one other thing here. I know I've heard from some of the Parks Committee members about minutes of their meetings and some controversy about that and their request that the township pay someone to do that. I do think it's important to point out, we set up the Parks Advisory Committee as an advisory committee, and it does not have spending authority of its own. It can ask the trustees and recommend things. But if there's some issue about minutes, you're busy running these meetings too, I know, as they're going on. Maybe one of the the committee members might like to actually take the minutes themselves to take that burden off of you. I don't know if that's a possibility or not, but do you have any concerns about minutes or anything like that, and about getting the meetings recorded also so that there's a record of what happened?
Yeah, so the last meeting that we had, it was not recorded. I thought that it was recording and it wasn't. That was, my fault. I've had a few committee members ask if we can start meeting in person again. I don't know if you guys are opposed to us having the meetings at the township building. I think the reason that we originally stopped meeting in person was we had a couple members that were concerned, and I believe now have been vaccinated, so they might be interested in coming back to in person. I think that would probably benefit the entire group, because I do, I definitely, I thought that I had it recording and it wasn't. So when the meeting is recorded, it's extremely easy for me to keep the minutes because I have the entire meeting to play back and take the minutes as easily as possible. But yeah, with not being able to record it the last time, it was a struggle for me to keep these minutes. We're not as good as they could have been.
Jason, can you would it make more sense to meet at some place like Schuler if you're going to meet in person instead of at the township? Just because I think you can spread people out probably a lot easier. And I'm no doctor or scientist, but they keep saying that even though you have a vaccine doesn't mean you can't either get it or spread it or whatever. And so, I mean, who knows? I don't know, but I'm just saying maybe that might give you a little bigger area to spread more people out if you were to do it at Schuler versus doing it at the township.
Yeah, I can definitely ask them and see if they would be in favor of it. I would imagine that they probably would, especially the people that would prefer to be in person.
Yeah.
So
keep in mind, some may still want to appear by Zoom too. So you'd need internet access at least, so someone could pop in that way too if needed. But yeah, there are other venues we could choose that are even larger. We have that nice new maintenance building back there. Maybe Tracy could make space available in that, even in the very large area.
No.
Open the doors, plenty of fresh air in there. So, but yeah, so what, I think that's something that is up to the committee and you as to what you guys feel safe doing and meeting. Meet outdoors when the weather gets warmer too. That's certainly an option. So, but hearing ideas for things like that is great.
Do you feel that we should have them meet? Our buildings are still closed to the public. Our Schuler is still closed. We are not meeting in person yet. So what is your thoughts on that?
I think that's up to each group that's meeting, I would suppose. I don't know that we would forbid the Parks Committee from meeting in person if they wanted to. I don't know that we have a policy on that. Have we set a policy? We'd want to make sure they follow whatever county and government health guidelines are in place, but.
Right now, I don't believe there's very many public meetings in the county. Currently, they're mostly all by Zoom.
Yeah.
I think I'd give at least another month and give a chance for these other vaccines to get out. More people get vaccinated, you'll be playing it safer.
Yeah.
I think that was a discussion we had before, Tom, because we were worried about the use of the bathrooms and keeping up with the sanitation. That was a problem originally.
Yeah, and now I know exactly.
Yeah, that's why the buildings were closed, because people sometimes walk by and stop in to use the restrooms and constantly keep up. And I think that would be the same situation with the group meeting there.
Yeah, and if we need to continue on Zoom, I know what my mistake was with recording the meeting, so I can record it from here on out and know, for pretty much for certain that I'm doing it correctly.
Good. I didn't mean to beat you up over that by bringing that up.
Oh, no,
either.
okay.
Mistakes happen, obviously. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thanks for what you do with the committee. Yeah. Anything else about parks from anyone? Okay, Tracy, you've probably got one or two things. Thanks, Jason, also, but
All
Tracy,
right,
you
thanks,
probably.
Thank you, Jason.
Yep.
So the first thing I have, you should have received in your packet the RFQ that we want to put out. So I'm going to ask for a motion to advertise this on our website. This is something we've been talking about. This is also be part of 25% TIFs. We've been talking from the beginning that we would have some road work, but we would also have some culvert work. We did have one culvert that we put in for a skip application that we've received funding for. These are for other culverts that are three, I believe, that are in the Dillonvale area that currently have some landslides going on, and they really need to be fixed before they get into the sidewalks and roadway. So just looking to put an RFQ out for engineering purposes.
Hey, Tracy, can I ask you a question regarding the culverts we have that we got skip funding for?
Yes.
Was that 100%?
No, skip is maximum of 50% usually. I mean, it's not a maximum of 50%, but we always donate 50% because you score so much better.
So at 50%, are we taking the TIF dollars to use for the remaining 50%?
Yes.
In that project? Okay, that's what I was just trying to find out. Okay.
Yes.
But Trace, I thought you just said 25% of the TIFs.
No.
It's a 50% grant to pay for the one that was successful. This is part of these here on this paper will be paid for out of the COVID, because of COVID, they allow us to use 25% of our unencumbered TIFs for road projects and infrastructure maintenance. So that's what we'll be paying for these projects here. That total amount of our 25% TIFs is right around 5 million. We went out to bid, which I'm going to get to here in a little bit. We were a little over 3. I'm looking at probably $500,000 in culvert work here. So we're still well under the 25%.
All right. So you're looking.
But the engineering, when you figure all these together, engineering is going to be over $25,000. So you have to put out an RFQ for people to submit their qualifications. after you get the qualifications, you rate them, and then you go to the first firm, whoever rated the highest, and then you ask them to give you a proposal on price, and you negotiate price with them at that time.
All right, so you're looking for a motion to proceed with advertising this RFQ, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'll make a motion that we proceed with advertising for an RFQ for the culvert project that we currently have in front of us.
And I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion or comments as to that?
I guess the only thing I would say is, once again, this just goes to show how valuable TIFs are to Sycamore Township. We have the ability to go to the well for $500,000, and we're not asking our residents for that money. This is, or wherever this might be, the 3.1 or 3.3, whatever it was that you opened up the bids on earlier, Tracy, plus an additional $500,000. That's a lot of money that we're doing work in the township infrastructure improvements and not asking the residents, and it's all because of tax income and financing. So I just want to reiterate how valuable that is to our residents in Sycamore Township.
Any other comments from anybody? Mr. Porter, will you call the roll then, please?
Mr. LaBarber,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
All right, Tracy, what else do you have here?
Next, I have a resolution. This is for the road program that I was just talking about. We went out to bid on this. We had 4 bidders, all four good contractors. Adlita, Cruz, Jurgensen, and Barrett were the 4 that submitted bids, which was nice to see because they're all high quality contractors. So we weren't worried in opening the bids. We got some very good prices too. So in fact, we're looking at about a $3.1 million project. The lowest 2 bids were only approximately $32,000 apart. So, less than 1%. So they were good prices. So I'll read this, a resolution authorizing a contract for the 2021 road improvement program and dispensing with a second reading.
Motion.
All right, we have dueling motions to approve this resolution. Would one of you two like to second it? I'll second it. All right, so any further discussion as to this resolution?
I'd just like to state for the record what the price was, $3,130,375.60.
Yeah.
And that was from the John Jurgensen Company.
Hey, that's a great price considering what we had anticipated. And B, those are 4 great companies. I mean, you can't get any better than that bidding on this job.
No, you couldn't ask for 4 better. And we that price came in $300,000 under our estimate. So that's always nice to see.
Now, this is also from the 25% of unencumbered TIF funds paying for this. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Oh, okay. So we've got this money sitting in a bucket and now we're able to use it for this. So, okay. Further comments from anybody?
Yeah, how many miles of road is this, Tracy?
This, I don't have that in front of me, but it is approximately 20% of our road infrastructure.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it's,
awesome.
I believe it was about 10 miles. That's nice when you can get that kind of work done.
Yeah, an annual program like that's unheard of nowadays.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
And it's really helping, the roads that need to be helped. As you know, we've been doing that preventative maintenance. And as I went around and looked at the roads, the roads that we're not doing here are really in good shape. This is really going to bring our road stock up to a great level because most of the other roads are in very good condition.
Great. Any other comments from anyone?
Good job, Trace. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Porter, will you call the roll?
Mr. LaBarber,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Got anything else for us, Tracy?
Just a general roundup. The maintenance crew finally got some rest. They were a little wore out after February. They're happy February is gone. So we're actually getting out and doing some culvert work. We'll be starting some road work very soon here. I know Jason's starting to do some work in the parks now that everything is thawed out. As far as our building goes, we're getting very close. We had some email correspondence this week, and there was probably 10 or 12 at least people back in the building today working, and they are telling me that they will finish up with the punch list tomorrow. So we're going to have a final walkthrough with the architects. If that is the case, they do get done tomorrow. We'll have that final walkthrough on Friday, and we'll be able to get into our building. So of course it won't be complete. We can't do, final restoration on the site yet. Everything's a muddy mess. So they'll still have that to do, but as long as we can get in that building, we'll be happy.
So do we have a holdback right now as to the final payment where we're waiting on these things to happen? I would assume so.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay, that's a good motivator. So very good.
The best.
Let me plant this seed in your head. I already talked about meeting in that building for something, and you weren't thrilled with the idea, I know. But come summertime, when we don't have any danger of snow, and maybe when the world is a different place with vaccines and so forth, consider whether we could have a day where we could open the doors and have an open house so that all the people who paid for this in the community might be able to at least peek in, take a look at it, and see what their tax dollars brought about. I think that might be a nice thing to let the community see what we've been paying for there. So just put that on your list.
Food for thought.
Yeah. So anything else you have?
No, sir. That's all I have.
Okay. I've got a question for Tracy, but does anyone else first? Okay. A couple things, actually. A thank you, first of all. I mentioned to you today a problem with the curb damage that I had observed in the neighborhood here, and you got your guys out here right away when we talked about it, and they found one over in Heitmeyer nearby also that they put on their list to get fixed. So very good. We talked a few weeks ago about a fiber map and where the cameras are in the township, and I think you said that was going to be in the works. Any progress on that yet? I'd like to know where all that stuff is.
Yeah, no progress in that yet. That's going to take a little while. With the company that did it, who installed the fiber, is getting ready to do a repair for us. We do have a break, and that is who's going to be actually drawing out the map of how the fiber is run. So,
okay.
We've just finally now gotten a break in the weather. So, things are just starting to move right now.
Okay. Thanks. Anyone else have anything for Mr. Kellums?
Yep.
Nothing
All
here.
right. We will move on then to planning and zoning report. Thanks, Tracy, for all you had there. Skylar Miller.
You're welcome.
Skylar, what do you got?
Yep. I guess I'll get the unpleasant item out of off our agenda first. Let's see here. Then we can talk about the fun stuff. Okay, so I have a resolution for the board to consider tonight. It's a resolution providing for and authorizing removal of vegetation, garbage, refuse, and other debris, and declaring a nuisance for the property located at 4454 Kugler Mill Road, Sycamore Township, Ohio, 45236. And we can have a discussion on that real quick. The pictures that are in the packet, these are the most current. I believe this is right before we had our snow melt. I'm gonna go ahead and rotate this. So, you're actually looking at, what I believe to be a junk vehicle, although we're not going after the junk vehicle just yet. It's kind of hard to see from this. So I'm actually going to pull up the pictures from roughly 2 months ago. Let's see here. Anonymous complaint on this. You can see that same vehicle. It's had some damage. It's had some, I think it's a deadbolt holding the hood on. There we go. But just, older collections of, I think those, maybe decorative ladders or something. I don't think those are actual construction material. You can see the, a pump, some other building material and debris on the deck. We're missing sections of the sidewalk, and we've, not exactly code for our safety barricades. As you can see, just a collection of various materials, junk and debris. This is on the west side of the property, looking around the back. We always stay on the either on the public right of way, or if we have permission from a neighbor to go on their property. We never enter the property ourselves, so we don't have a full inventory of what's in the backyard just yet. So we haven't had any luck reaching out to the owner. This property was, from what we can tell, in a family trust since 2015. It looks like there's been some transfers and it's changed hands. But there's lots of folks with the same last name that it's transferring to. So, if there's if all of this is leading to some kind of, renovation work to get this property up, then by all means, they just need to reach out to us and we can assist them with proper, issuing proper zoning certificates and permitting from the county. But as it stands right now, this is just a mess. And, it's certainly impacting the surrounding neighborhood. So, any questions about these pictures?
Does anyone live there?
Right now, I can't tell. We've tried to reach out. But the mailing address on file is actually this property. I believe there's also a PO box in the city of Fairfield that we've tried as well. So no luck just yet on contacting the owner. So by posting a notice on the front door, somebody hopefully will see that. Again, all I need is cooperation. So as soon as they say, hey, we want to work with you to comply, the ball can stop rolling. But until that time, I think we've got a duty to, help mitigate these and abate these issues.
This is next to a commercial property, isn't it, on Kugler Mill at the corner of Blue Ash Road?
Yes, that's correct. So that, Tracy, is that the 312 lounge right there at that corner? Am I thinking of the right one? Is Tracy there?
312 and where the tattoo parlor used to be, yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Any comments about this from anyone?
I make a motion, we approve the resolution, the nuisance for the nuisance property.
I'll second that.
All right. Mr. Miller, would you read the intro to the title of the resolution, please, that the motion
Certainly.
pertains to?
Yep. Resolution providing for and authorizing removal of vegetation, garbage, refuse, and other debris, and declaring a nuisance for the property located at 4454 Kugler Mill Road, Sycamore Township, Ohio, 45236.
And we have a motion and a second on the floor pertaining to this resolution. Any further discussion as to this resolution? All right. Mr. Porter, would you call the roll, please, for the vote?
Mr. LaBarbera,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
All right. What else
All
do you
right.
have for us, Mr. Miller?
Thank you, gentlemen. All right. So March and the second quarter of 2021 is going to be a busy and exciting time for my department. So we have recently finished the final draft, is what I was calling it, of our future land use plan. I kind of submitted that internally to our administration staff as well as maintenance for internal review. We completed that yesterday, where there was a couple of tweaks here and there, and I think maybe 2 map amendments. So my goal is to fix those this week, get those adjusted, and push that out to our land use steering committee and schedule a meeting with them for later this month. As soon as they have vetted it, if they're and give us the thumbs up, we can submit that to our zoning commission for review and recommendation to the Board of Trustees. So that's finally moving and gaining some good steam. While that is going through our public review, we are internally in March working on the text amendments for the zoning resolution. My general theme for these is going to be trying to streamline, simplify some of the language that we have, and I don't know if deregulate is the proper word here, but certainly do some enabling legislation or enabling policy for residents. Making sure that they have good and full use of their property. So that's our general goal with these text amendments. We are starting. We have, of course, our base document as well as the red line from a few years back. We will be fully reviewing those, but we're not submitting those original red lines. This will be a fresh look, so to speak. And it's not a complete revamp of the text. This is going to be evolutionary, not revolutionary. Okay. So that will be final draft is planned to be finished by the end of this month for consideration by the public and zoning commission at the following meeting. And then finally, and we're probably going to have to come up with a better name for this. This is wordy. Our Montgomery Road Township Property Master Planning Project. We have our first focus group scheduled for March 11th at 6:30 p.m. That is actually going to be held in the auditorium over at Jewish Hospital. We've got plenty of room to spread out, so the focus group is going to be in person. We are working with Mr. Ebel to live stream that to the public. There's not going to be any Zoom component to that because participation is going to be in person. So following that, we'll have a business focus group on the 25th of March, and then developer focus group. I believe that's April 8th. Shortly after that, we're as a culminating kind of charrette process. We'll have that. Ray, were we doing that at the end of April or the first week of May? I can't remember now.
I don't think we set that date yet.
Yeah, to be determined, but shortly after. We wanted time to take all that information that we received from those focus groups and synthesize that into some workable data. So at the end of this process, we're planning on having an executive summary and a general plan for this site that we can share with potential developers. Okay. So that is our busy roadmap for the next 4 to 6 months.
Very good. Anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Miller about any of that?
Sounds good, Skylar. Sounds good.
I have a question about something that maybe someone can help with, Mr. Miller. This is before your time, but I understand this came to my attention just this evening and some other things I was reading about something before us that on August 9th of 2011, the township had scheduled a public hearing on something relating to access management and a plan TEC had put together for the township. Mr. Weidman, you were around then. Mr. Kellums was, I think. Did that actually happen? And what came of that? And was that focused on the area we're talking about now, or was that south where the median is down on the other side of Montgomery Road?
I'll yield to Tracy on that.
Yeah, if it was TEC, and what was the date of that? 2011?
August 9th, 2011.
Yeah, that would have been a public meeting the TEC had to do with the median, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so that was on the other side of Montgomery Road from where we're talking about, and then
Yes.
south on Kenwood. Okay.
South from Montgomery Road to the interstate.
Okay, that wasn't clear from our minutes when I was looking through. So you've got all the institutional knowledge buried in your head from the last, 60 years or so of the township. So,
So
okay.
wait,
Almost.
let me just clarification. So that was a public meeting with the residents? Is that what you said on August the 9th? 2011?
The minutes indicated it was going to be a public hearing of some sort, and Tracy at the time, I think in the minutes, it indicated he said there were 20 or 30 people who had signed up for it.
Okay.
So, yeah, okay. Well, presumably there's some record of that around somewhere, but that was not the same properties we're talking about now, as it turns out, on the north side of Montgomery Road and west of Kenwood. So different issue anyway. Okay. Anything else for Mr. Miller from anyone? All right, thanks, Skylar. So moving on to the
Pleasure.
law director report, Mr. Desai, what do you have for us?
Good evening, everyone. Just one item tonight, just an update. The administrator's office, Mr. Warwick and myself have continued to work on finalizing the joint economic development district for the development over there on Happiness Way, the CIG development. We have assembled all of the documents that are required to be submitted to the county. Couple stragglers that we're still waiting for, but I expect to have those in the near future. And once we submit those, then the next step will be to actually have the board meeting, the board that oversees the JED. And at that meeting, they will then organize and pass any legislation they deem appropriate, which may include a tax levy resolution to impose a tax on essentially the commercial property within the district.
All right, and for the public's reference, we're talking about what's commonly known as the CIG project, or the project next to Jewish Hospital, between the parking deck and the apartments and Kenwood Road, which the township had agreed with Deer Park to put a JEDD in place as part of the inception of that project. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for us?
That will do it, sir.
Question for you. Some of the other trustees may have questions about this too, but I think we had moved to proceed with a motion to enforce a settlement agreement in litigation last time. Is that moving along, and is anything scheduled with that?
And there's nothing scheduled with the court, but it is moving along. We have received some correspondence from the defendants and some inquiries from one of their contractors regarding the front sign that I've addressed with Mr. Miller. I have contacted the defendant's counsel to let them know that we're moving forward with the terms of the settlement agreement, and that's the position of the board at this time.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Desai about anything from anyone? All right. Thank you, sir. We're going to move on to the administrator report, and I should have pointed this out earlier, by the way, because Mr. Porter's been very patient here, and we have another situation where we don't want to put the cart before the horse in approving spending and receipts that would be part of your report. So that's why we've scheduled you after we get to those things here in the administrator report. There's a PO to address and an appropriation change, I believe. So thank you for your patience, Rob, throughout all this. So Mr. Warwick, what do you have for us with your administrator report?
Evening. I do have a resolution amending the 2021 appropriations again, and this time we're actually going to ask the board to lower our appropriations by $11,607.03. And the reason for this is we did the final reconciliation on the CARES Act money. If you recall, when we got the money in 2020, we encumbered it all, because if you didn't do that, you could lose some of it. And it's quite a process to reconcile. And what we, in the final reconciliation, I believe it's now the final reconciliation of 2020, the 11,607 was actually booked in fiscal 2020. So we want to make sure that we have the correct amount in the 2021 appropriations. So therefore, we're asking the board to approve a reduction. The resolution reads, a resolution amending 2021 appropriations, dispensing with a second reading and declaring an emergency.
Motion.
Motion. Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the resolution before us amending appropriations and a second. Any further discussion as to it? Mr. Porter, would you call the roll then, please?
Mr. LaBarbera,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Okay, I have a few large POs to go through with you this evening. I think all but maybe one was in your packet. And one of them that was in the packet has been removed because we need to do some further work on it. The way the PO was written it didn't match up with the flow of funds. So the first one I have is purchase number 8795. This is a blanket PO, and it's for the account that pays the zoning boards. And we just had not that money is available and appropriated. We just had not asked for a PO to spend it. And the amount is $10,800. I'd ask for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
95.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion, gentlemen?
Can you tell me that, are we, so how did we pay them in the first 2 months if we never appropriated any money? How do we pay our zoning boards?
They haven't been paid.
So they've not gotten a check in January or February?
Have they met?
I believe they have, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, they shouldn't have been paid because this, I think this is appropriating it's appropriating the whole amount that was in that account.
Yeah, so we've had, I believe we've had BZA and yeah, we've just had BZA so far.
1 or 2?
Now I'm drawing a blank. I think we've had 2.
So BZA hasn't got paid either month, is that what you're saying? That was to you, Ray.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't have because we didn't have a purchase order to do it.
Okay.
And they are paid, is it $100 per meeting or $100 per month for serving on the board?
$100 per month if they meet, correct?
It's per, they're paid per meeting with a maximum of $100 per month. So sometimes you may have to, call a special meeting or something to that effect. If they meet twice, they only get the $100. The language is a little conflicting on that, but that's how it's interpreted. We've also streamlined that whole issue. So
Streamlined what? Sorry.
We've streamlined the meetings. Used to much like the trustees, you would have a public hearing. You would go into the regular session, so to speak, and direct staff to prepare a resolution. Now we're doing resolutions that basically we're preparing 2 resolutions to anticipate the board so that they can act more quickly. So that's limiting the number of special meetings and second meetings that we had. And so we had a January 4th BZA and a February 17th BZA. And
there's a payment to the BZA in tonight's check run.
Yep.
All right.
We also have, we do have zoning commission next week.
All right. Any further discussion as to this PO? All right, Mr. Porter, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. LaBarbera,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman,
Aye.
The next purchase order is 8797. It's to Holt House Lackner Signs. That's for the new signs in front of administration, maintenance, and fire. The amount is $19,092. We're just getting the purchase order in place. They won't be paid all this money because the directional signs have not been installed yet, but we ask for your approval this evening.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve this PO in a second. Any further discussion as to it? Mr. Porter, call the roll, please.
Mr. LaBarbera,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman,
Aye.
Thank you. The next purchase order is 8733A. It's a blanket, and this is for uniforms for the roads and maintenance crew. And what we're doing is, this is another fund account where we're going through the money a little quicker than the third that we originally set up our original POs on. That's just kind of one of the ways we're managing our money. So we're asking for another third, the $3,800 to be approved this evening.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, we have motion and second as to this PO. Mr. Porter, call the roll, please.
Mr. LaBarbera,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman,
Aye.
Okay,
Mr. Warwick,
thanks.
Mr. Warwick, the PO you skipped, that's the one I assume you said wasn't ready yet that had been in the packet?
Yes.
And what was that for? I'm just curious because it was there in what was published.
It's one of those where we were doing a project and we paid for the waterworks portion, and then once it's done, we get the money from waterworks, and then we have to pay the vendor. And I wanted to make sure, and I discussed it with Tracy and Debbie today, wanted to make sure that we had that in the right order because the accounts that we were calling out weren't appropriated enough. So we'll have that straightened out and back to you at the next meeting.
Okay, thanks. Let's move on to what you have next then, here PO wise.
8732A. This is another blanket for maintenance. And this is what we labeled roads miscellaneous. It's just for various things that they have to purchase. Once again, we're just moving ahead with the next third of this about a month early, and it's for $3,390.
Motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
So, yeah, what is this miscellaneous? I didn't catch that.
I don't know what, Tracy, what do you use that for?
This is just for everyday stuff that is not materials, uniforms, road,
I got you.
road stuff, you know.
I'm good.
It's usually small amounts, you know, you get a $30 check invoice in from a hardware store or something, usually pay that out of miscellaneous. You know, we spent some more money than we expected in the first third in basically all of our accounts because of the snow and salt and everything. So we're just getting the second third together so we can pay some of those smaller bills.
I'm good with it. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion from anyone? We have a motion and a second. Mr. Porter, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. LaBarbera,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman,
Aye.
Thank you. Next is 8736A. Once again, it's another blanket, as Tracy just explained that, and this one certainly because of the snow. It's in the category for roads fleet repair, and the amount is $10,320.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Mr. Porter, will you call the roll and the vote on this motion, please?
Mr. LaBarbera,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Mr. Weedman,
Aye.
Thanks. The last one is 8798, and this is to the John Jurgensen Company. This is the PO that matches the resolution that you passed for Tracy earlier this evening. It's in the amount of $3,130,375.60.
Motion.
I'll second it. You got both moved simultaneously. All right, any discussion? All right.
I would note that this is a good job by Tracy and his guys, because the Jergensen can get all this work done before the end of the calendar year,
Yeah, they're good.
which is the deadline as we sit here now.
Yeah.
They're good people to work with.
All right, Mr. Porter, will you call the roll as to this motion, please?
Mr. LaBarbera,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
The only other thing I wanted to mention this evening was we had our JED meetings earlier and got the report on how 2020 stacked up against 2019. 3 of our JEDs were actually up a bit and 1 JED was down. The net of that is that in 2020, we collected $120,779.04 more than we did the prior year, which is pretty good news given the situation with shutdowns in the economy.
Could we get a report of that on the website, perhaps just comparing year over year? The public might be interested in seeing that. That doesn't have to happen immediately, but if you've got the data, that might be a helpful thing to put out there.
We can do that.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Warwick about anything? All right, thanks, Ray. We will move on to our fiscal officer, Rob Porter. Rob, what do you have for us? Money coming in, going out, and so forth.
Yeah, I have receipts of $1,299,296.81, disbursements of $492,233.12. A complete listing of all receipts and disbursements is available in the packet.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion as to any of that? All right, Mr. Porter, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. LaBarbera,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
All right. Anything else?
Oh, nothing on my part, no.
Okay, thank you. I will point out, we had a discussion in the last meeting about communications from the public and ways to do some of that. You and I had an email exchange after the meeting about that too. And I do want you to know, I'm still thinking of ways where we may be able to have some of that in the meetings, possibly with a short summary, I think is what I suggested to you going forward. When we do get a communication to the township, it should be communicated to all the trustees, of course, and you when it comes in, so we see it. But if we do get people calling in to praise our snow removal team or others, maybe we should go into the meetings and note that, for example, 3 residents took the time to call us to praise the snow removal team. 2 emailed to complain about energy aggregation. Someone wrote in to talk about potholes, something simple like that. But we can talk about that in future meetings too. But I am still giving that thought, at least from a chairman's perspective here, as to how we can do it. And I do look forward to input from others on that. But we can move on to trustee comments now. Mr. Weedman, do you have any comments?
I don't have any other than what the chief already covered. Johnson & Johnson is going to be distributed quickly. I can tell you from the EMA Homeland Security standpoint that everything we get in goes right back out. And so we are trying to continue to keep the lines of supply to everybody that needs it. And we're hoping for big things because the Johnson & Johnson is a single dose versus the double dose by Moderna and Pfizer. And I think that that will help immensely in getting more people covered than we are right now. So other than that, I have nothing.
Mr. LaBarbera.
Okay, I was on the, to add to Tom and the Chief Penny's comments, I was on the call this morning for the Hamilton County Board of Health with Greg Kesserman, the Hamilton County Health Commissioner. And active cases keep going down. We're 131 cases a day, or we were not too long ago, 716. The suburbs, for the first time ever, lower rate than the city of Cincinnati. And hospitalizations, 222 confirmed, 59 in the ICU, which is way low. And we're still a level 3, we're still red. And it was mentioned the vaccine. Now, starting on Thursday, those 60 eligible people, 60 and above, essential workers, childcare, funeral home people, law enforcement, correction officers, type 1 diabetes, ALS, bone marrow transplant recipients, pregnant women. And that's all I have to say. I mean, it looks like we're heading in the right direction.
All right, and I'll just add, thanks again to Tracy's team for all the hard work they had to do in February. I do hope March is a lighter month, although Tracy is a taskmaster. So guys, he's going to be after you anyway for stuff. But thanks for all you do. Wanted to thank a local civic group that sent me a nice thank you card for speaking to their group recently too. Got that, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. Announcement changes. The Tax Incentive Review Council meeting is set for before our Tuesday, March 16th meeting. That'll be at 5:30 p.m. remotely. Check our calendar for other scheduled meeting changes. And prior to this meeting at 6 p.m., we briefly had a public hearing on the Kugler Mill Road zoning change proposal as to the project there and a proposed consent decree. That's been continued to this coming Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. remotely while neighborhoods are reviewing things. But check our calendar and the website for updates as to other things. I understand there's been a call for an executive session here to consider sale of township property. Does someone wish to make a motion as to that?
I'll make a motion. We move to discuss an executive session with Law Director Deepak Desai as permitted by Ohio
Look up
Revised
my shoulder
Code,
and watch how I do this.
Section 12122, to consider the sale of Sycamore Township property.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Let's have a vote as to this. First of all, roll call. Mr. Porter, would you call the roll?
Ms. LaBarber,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
All right, and into executive session, we'll invite the trustees, Mr. Porter, Mr. Desai, Mr. Warwick, Mr. Kellums, and Mr. Miller. And I believe that's everyone we needed. Ray, did I miss anyone?
No, that's it. And Rob, will we automatically go in there?
Yeah, just a second. Once I put graphic up, once you guys adjourn, and then I'll put the graphic up and then invite you into the meeting.
All right, then it is currently 8:18 p.m. and we are adjourning into executive session and will return.
Graphic is down.
All right. Did we lose anyone? Guess not. We lost Tracy, but that's okay. All right. We are back in regular session from executive session. It is 8:47 p.m. by my clock. Mr. Porter, would you call the roll to confirm everyone's back, please?
Mr. LaBarbera,
Here,
Mr. James,
Here.
Mr. Weedman.
Present.
All right. Do we have any further business, gentlemen?
Motion to adjourn.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Stay safe and stay healthy, everybody.
We are adjourned at 8:48 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.